I'm on. I was trying, Triple H.
Hannah Hurst Helmsley.
Yeah, okay, yeah, if that's his name.
The
I was
wrestler.
trying to find his song, the copyrights to his song, because I think the game should be this intro.
Yeah, sounds good. I used to watch wrestling religiously, but I can't exactly remember his intro music, but I'm sure it's dope.
I hope those headphones are charged.
Mate, they've been charging all night.
Okay, good. So, cool, man. Well, look, we're ready to roll. So, what have you got for me?
Well, this is your podcast. You said you had it all set up with an intro. You asked the questions and I
Okay,
answered them.
so, all right. So, first of all, I'll get it cleared and started with what this is. So I'm not jumping on the podcast bandwagon, and I'm not calling this a podcast. Okay.
Yep.
So podcast, and let's say you got podcast platform, iTunes, SoundCloud, or whatever the platforms are for podcasts. Now let's be truthful here. Nobody's going to tune in on iTunes to listen to a podcast of mine. So whatever we're going to call it, I'm calling it, yes, SwollesCast, but this is going to be YouTube platform only, video, because, the whole jazz that you got to put into it to separate the audio and the video and put them all together and whatever. The time of it all is whatever. So I think, yeah, if we want to call it a podcast, so be it. Looks like I'm the host of this podcast for today. So,
You are.
yeah, so basically, since you've been gone, since you've left and been in America, there's some stuff that I've stumbled upon and some weird sort of spiritual sort of stuff, which has scared the hell out of me. And the more people I kind of speak to, in my circle, let's say if I'm let's say I'm trying to, say, awaken people around me, right? Because it's all about spreading the word, yeah? So there's only a couple of people that kind of really understand all of this, and you're one of them, So I wanted to kind of, we haven't had like a deep conversation for a while, so I wanted to kind of tell you all this stuff that I've heard and see your thoughts on it. I'm heavily involved in what I believe American politics and stuff like that. Even though I live in Australia, it's weird, but I'm involved in American politics. You're over there in California. We're in this lockdown, kind of. We're not allowed to fly, but you were able to fly when you couldn't fly. Traveled all the way from Perth to Sydney to fly. So, yeah, if you want to just kind of chime in and start off what happened with that, considering, in this scamdemic, if I'm allowed to say that, just tell me a little bit and we'll just cruise in and go deep.
Yeah, well, I guess, getting here, like as you know, my fiance is American and lives in California, so I was meant to be here in May originally, April, May, and then obviously all COVID shit went crazy and the world decided to shut down, and we were put in a position where we couldn't travel or we couldn't move freely. And so with our Australian government, they had a full travel ban on Aussies even leaving their own country. So for me, as I'm sure we'll talk on and touch on certain things, like I have a belief system that somewhat sits outside of the majority of the way society is programmed to think, and I believe that I'm capable of things greater than the constructs of, this 3D environment we live in. So I literally set the intention of being able to be here within 8 weeks. And when I did that, I went through the process of applying to travel on compassionate grounds. Now, legitimately, I didn't really have any compassionate grounds. Like, my fiance is just my fiance. We have kids, but they're not my kids, and their
Um,
father isn't there.
Congratulations to.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So anyway, I got it approved and I was able to travel. But I also heard stories of people with sick parents overseas who weren't allowed to travel, and so I basically seeked approval to travel and was granted that, and I flew out as soon as I got approval for having that. And being here, I'm sure you'll touch on the depths of the political race and everything that's happening here. But I'm in California, and I actually spoke to a head nurse because my partner owns her own business and actually connects with a lot of different people. Like, people, she works in the permanent makeup industry, and she does realistic tattooing in regards to eyebrows. People that have alopecia or have had cancer, or even just people that don't have a lot of hair. So she does a lot of reconstruction stuff with lips and eyebrows, but she just sees a vast array of people. So we had a lady in here that works for NASA that's part of the project of getting to Mars. And the other day we had a head nurse in here from one of the main hospitals in an area in California. And at the moment, they have 5 people in the hospital with COVID. At the peak of all the craziness, how the media is telling you it's all death and everyone's dying, they had 14 people.
They had
The head
14.
nurse,
They had 14
people.
in the hospital with COVID.
At the peak of when it was supposed to be all doom and gloom.
I honestly believe it's I just think it was just an evolved flu.
That's what it is. It's not even that evolved, man.
Well, you know what I mean? Not like evolved, but just like, like you hear some people talk and some people say, oh, there's word out that, like there's going to be this crazy flu that comes out. Because obviously the flu spreads, yeah? And,
Yeah.
I've been overseas. I've been to the Philippines, and I got back from the Philippines and I got dengue fever, right? So it's almost like one of them. But it's almost like I called someone up and I said, hey, look, I've got dengue fever, da-da-da-da-da. I'm coming back from Philippines. I'm going to Australia. I've got the fever. I infected a couple of people, but I made the first call to say, oh, I've got dengue fever. So whoever's heard that, and if that word's got around, and the next a couple of people have gotten sick, well, whatever. So like whether that kind of come about of it, but man, look, I'm tend to starting to look at now whether, not if it does exist, but it's just strange because you think, like, is it if you tune into the TV, it's real, right? If you don't tune into the TV, it's kind of not real. But if you kind of look on two sides of it, not, conspiracy or whether you believe it or whether you're not, but 100%, like, you put America in the picture, and America, it's political, right? You have a look at what's going on in Victoria. Well, how then can you say that is political as well? Because it's almost like it's not election year, So whether
Sorry, keep going.
So whether it's like in America, well then see now you're talking New World Order. Now you're talking the Chinese. Now you look at Hong Kong, the chaos through Hong Kong. Melbourne's like Hong Kong. So it's almost like clearly whoever is in charge with Victorian police or Victorian government must be some form of official from China, or some official that's connected to the CCP, or someone that's connected somewhere that's like a, not an ambassador, but someone that's, what do they call them? They call them a name. They call them,
Like a foreign minister or something?
Like a what?
A foreign minister? Or?
Yeah, I never got that. I never heard what you said.
Like a foreign minister.
Yeah, like yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like a foreign minister, but a diplomat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think, but before we go too much further, let's just get down to like the simple things that we can look at. So, if you look at the statistics of how things have been recorded, recovery rates, death rates, and all these things associated, because the strain of the virus, it exists. That's not a conspiracy, right? But
100%.
the level that the media has manipulated it to with whatever narrative, because let's be honest, six corporations own every media and news and radio outlet around the world. So they can have a direct influence on the narrative that they want to push out, depending on who is at the top pulling the strings. And so when we look at statistics, it's a 99.6% recovery rate if you get it. 98.3% of the world's population will get mild to no effects from it at all. And the 1.7% of the population that do have adverse, severe effects from it are either elderly people over the age of 70 who have decreased immune systems because of their life longevity, or people that have 2 to 3 underlying health issues.
Yeah.
Now, let's put things in perspective, because governments, their narrative is we want to protect the people who are vulnerable. Okay, so why did, for 50, 40 years, we've known that smoking kills hundreds and thousands of people every year. It has no health benefits whatsoever, but yet we still sell them to people, even though we know they're killing them and they have no health benefits. And your government's allowing this, and it kills hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people every year, in and out, and it puts a strain on the medical and hospital systems for treating people with cancer and treating people with all these diseases, yet they don't do a thing. And now, all of a sudden, because there's 1.7% of the population that's at risk, they shut down the whole world, the whole economy. Now, that little perspective there, that thing there doesn't make any sense on its own. But as I'm sure we're about to go into, there are so many things. And when you talk about Victoria and Dan Andrews, who's the only political member in Australia that signed a deal with China? What's that road fucking deal that they just cancelled? That China road deal thing that went through that Dan Andrews signed.
Road initiative.
Yeah, so he has direct links to China right there. And then you're going to tie in how, the fact that ever since Trump got elected, let's look at Trump for just a moment. Trump is the only president in American history that has nothing at all to gain from being president. He's actually going backwards.
What, sorry?
He's a Sorry?
What did you say? You said something.
Trump is the only American president ever to have nothing to gain from being president.
Yeah.
He's already had a TV show. He's had book deals. He's a multimillionaire. He could retire anytime he wants. Like he's not getting anything at all, nothing, zero from being president, other than a whole heap of fucking stress.
Well, see, this is where the media come in and completely tweak it, because of the people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. I say to them, I'll talk about them, and I just kind of, I don't know, like I kind of try and get them to tell me rather than ask them the questions, So I'll kind of hint something, and then they'll just spit it out, and then I'll go, oh, Trump's definitely in it for himself, and Trump's the reason why, he didn't want to shut down New York because it benefits him, and Trump, and you go, hang on a minute, what do you mean? Like, why are you bad-mouthing Trump? Why are you saying that? Oh, because he's benefiting from this. Go, hang on a minute. No, he's not. Trump's a self-made billionaire. And then they'll go, yeah, I know that, but, and then they say something else, and you correct people, and you go, but hang on a minute. He was a billionaire, stepped down to take control of his country, didn't have to, could have still been a billionaire, right? Like kicking back with his wife, his kids. He's in his 70s. So he stepped down from being a billionaire, stepped down to get this presidential salary that's in the couple of hundred thousands that he gives away to a former charity and he doesn't collect. So how is he benefiting from this? He's stepped down to save his country. What he says today is what the Americans used to applaud when he said it in the 80s and when he said it in the 90s, that the country's gone down to shit. What he's saying now, they're applauding. There was this comment that I heard the other weekend. It said that, that they used to like Trump when he used to go to their fancy like dinners and balls and when he was handing them out money, because it's like, sort of not secret society, but the groups, it's like a church service where you hand them money. The more money you hand out to those groups, you're allowed to associate and mingle with that, with those sort of Freemasonry or social societies and stuff like that, So he said, oh, they never minded me when I used to associate with them and give them the money, but now because I'm going head to head against them. So, it's the media that are creating people's opinion on Trump. So it's not their own opinion. And this is what I say to them. I go, you hate a guy that you don't even know. It's like you hear these Black Lives Matter people going, we need to care about black people and black people. But then they go, fuck Trump and death to America. And you're like, what? You guys are like, if you don't follow what I believe, we're going to attack and kill you and bash you and beat you and do all these things that you say, Black Lives Matter. You're like, you guys are all, and you look at who they are and they're the left. They're the radical left. They're the Bernie Sanders supporters. They're the Democrat supporters. They're the ones that think that everyone's a racist because, they have a joke with a black man or say something to another person. And these people don't understand racism, to me, like really racism's kind of nothing, like I'm not racist. You're not racist. Cause realistically we look different, but you cut your arm, you bleed red. I cut my arm, I bleed red. A Mexican cuts their arm, they bleed red. So we're all human beings. We all bleed red. We all bleed blood. Like we're no different. Like you're a white man, right? I'm going to say, Troy, I could pick at you about something you're wearing. That's acceptable. But change your skin color and I say the same thing. You can't say that. That's racism. You go, hang on, you don't know anything about racism. No, well, I don't because, it's the system that you've been put in. It's your programming. It's how you're told to think and act because you've got to be connected to the left, So, going back into the political sense of it and connect all that to the media and the destruction of America, you can see that that's so coordinated because it's not like, it's not in their realm of, or it's not in their sort of belief system, and it's completely different to what they kind of resonate with or run with. So yeah, the chaosness is distracted to them, and that's why they hate Trump, because they're fucking told to. I've gone on a bit of a ramble, but you get what I'm saying. So I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, in line with what you're saying, let's look at two other things. So statistically, from an economic point of view, Trump is the best president America's ever had. Even throughout all this, best president they've ever had statistically. It's right there. It's numbers. You can't avoid it. Statistically, Trump has done.
Are those numbers real? Because some people argue that those numbers aren't real.
Was the stock market? I mean, I don't deal and dabble in the stock market, but if the numbers aren't real, then that means that, I mean, the stock market's full of shit, and that's what the world revolves around in regards to the economy. So, I mean, Trump isn't putting out the graphs on the stock market. This is the stock market putting out the people that look after all this. Statistically, he's done more for African American people in this country outside of Abraham Lincoln. Statistically, more jobs, created more opportunity, looked after them more. like these are numbers that are brought out by the government facilities that look after all where we get all the stats from. Like it's not coming from Trump. He ain't doing it. Like this is all the government agencies that actually that their job is to record all these statistics so that people have a basis and a baseline to work from. When you talk about Black Lives Matter and the economy, Trump is the best president the Americans have ever had. And he is because he doesn't fit the mold of the political agenda of being all about politicians looking after themselves. I'm not here saying I'm some crazy Trump supporter. I just like to look at statistics and look at the common sense value of things that he's doing. So we spoke about the fact that, hey,
but you are a crazy Trump supporter.
Nah, I'm not. Like, I think he's a bit of a fumbling twit who's a bit of a womanizer, to be honest with you. But he's like, it's old school. He's not he's not go-to what is it, Me Too fucking movement person. He's just one of those old creepy dudes that fucking has a shit outlook on today, the way today views how you treat a woman. You know what I mean?
Trump is a businessman, right?
Exactly.
And he knows how to make a deal. He knows how to fire people. You're fired. He knows how to get the job done. His place right now in this, 100% has been guided to be in the role that he's in. Like it's not, let's say 2015 and Trump's just sitting there having a coffee and going, America's fucked. I might start running for president next year and go against Hillary Clinton, one of the most powerfulest kind of females in the world, that I might just give it a crack, right? But to successfully pull it off, behind all that, something more powerful has allowed him to get that seat and to do the things he's done, because, it's like, even on the spiritual sense, right? Now, I'm not going to say, is Donald Trump the second coming of Christ? But what I'm going to say is that whatever is driving his vessel has hijacked him, and for the sake of humanity and for the sake of good and for the future of us as a species and everything that's going on with COVID and all the unrest and all the martial law side of it and all the forcing and all the vaccines, and coincidentally Bill Gates pops up and says you got to get vaccinated. So for this time, for him being elected as president in 2016, and we're actually facing this right now, if Donald Trump was not the president right now, we would have been vaccinated months ago, and all these other things have happened. So you look at, in between that, the last 4 years, you had the impeachment, you had Russia collusion, you had all of this stuff. And guess what? It's always been Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton on the TV, and now they're getting Obama, and now they're getting Michelle Obama in, and now they're getting all these people to the left. So now you're starting to understand and see who is driving and who is kind of in charge here. Yes, it's definitely the left. You've obviously seen that movie Out of the Shadows, where they talk about the influence of that sort of side of it. And yes, they're all connected. So, is something higher, greater, out of this world, energy, alien controlling Donald Trump, right? So we've got this businessman who's saving the world. What I see, he's the only man that's stepping up and taking this virus on head on, and also can still get up on a rally or whatever they're calling them now, but his political sort of rallies. Is getting up, bro. You have American flags waving, you have good positive music, you have light, you have love, you have truth, right? He is doing nothing but spitting the truth and saying exactly what's going on in the world. So you see people go, but Trump says this and Trump says that. Yes, because first of all, you got to understand, why does Trump say that? Trump says that because he is correcting the fake news. So if they go out and if you're following him and you understand him, yes, he does say some outrageous baboon shit and stuff that doesn't make sense. That's because he's giving you the real news and the real media. He's correcting the fake news. So CNN or NNSBC or CBS or that might put out this report, but then in his rally, he'll get up and he'll say all the stuff that they're saying, but he's telling you the truth. He's not going to lie to you. You know, look, the right, no mask. The left, wear a mask. You know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Joe Biden hiding in his basement this whole entire time. Joe Biden has dementia, you know. The left are like saying, you know, just Trump, just all this stuff, man. So yeah, I see it completely different. Not to you, because I mean now you being in America, you probably see it, you know, firsthand sort of thing. But yeah, look, I 100%.
America is funny because it depends, like, where you are, and, like, you know, obviously, like, I'm in California, right? So in LA, complete draconian fucking lockdowns and craziness. But then I'm in Southern California, like down near, you know, Laguna Beach, Orange County, and it's a whole different world, man. There's still, because the governor, and he's a Democrat, so any Democratic governors that are in power are enforcing these draconian, stupidity laws, or classing them as laws, even though they've never been passed through government. And then you have Republican states which are much more relaxed because they have an outlook based on medical science. You know what I mean? So, you know, like you talk about things with Trump, and, you know, there was him taking hydroxychloroquine. Now, and then there was this outcry from the left Democrats about how he's promoting something that's dangerous because it doesn't work. Hydroxychloroquine has been an FDA-approved drug for over 65 fucking years. All right, it was, yeah, but it's malaria to treat malaria, but I can't remember the terminology used by doctors, but drugs that can be used in other circumstances to treat other diseases based on their FDA approval on what they do. So, also in 2005, Dr. Anthony Fauci and his team of scientists, they did studies on hydroxychloroquine and how it worked in regards to SARS-CoV-1. Now, SARS-CoV-1, COVID-19 is SARS-CoV-2. It shares 79.8% of the same fucking properties as SARS-CoV-1, which they tested hydroxychloroquine on, which showed that it did help in the prevention and cure of SARS-CoV-1. But now they've come out in recent times and said, no, there's no testing to show that it would show any help in regards to preventing or curing against SARS-CoV-2. Well, hold on. It shares 80% of the same fucking property. You can't say that it does not share or have any testing background to show that it could assist or help. And now, right now, there's studies coming out and it's going, oh, it does actually work. And there's doctors all around the world that have gone against the mainstream bullshit and have used that with zinc and other certain things as a combination treatment, and it works fucking fine. But even on a simple basic level, we are in an immune deficient pandemic. Not one mainstream media outlet, mainstream doctor, mainstream politician has said anything about looking after your immune system. And how you do that? What you eat, exercise, vitamin D, which is fucking sunlight and being outside, oxygen and water. Now, what do you do when you lock someone? Like, let's talk about the basics of immunology. What happens when you lock someone in a sterile environment for long periods of time? It decreases their immune system. Why? Because if you understand virology, the whole point of virology is that we are exposed in society every day to thousands and thousands of good and bad viruses and bacteria And that's how our immune system works so that it builds strength. And like none of that's been said on fucking Channel 9 or CNN or Fox, has it? Why? Why wouldn't you share the simple basic terminology and facts to being healthy when you're in a immune deficient fucking pandemic? Because there's more to it that they don't want you to know. And we're just talking basics, man. Basic fucking medical science.
Do you just think that that maybe they're just dumb? Like, what if they just don't know? What if they just don't know? Okay, let's put it this way, right? So let's look at it from two angles. One angle being, you know, me and you can 100% see through the shit, right? I look at it and I go, that's bullshit, that's bullshit, that's bullshit. But again, pick and choose your reality. We are consumed with the trying to find the cracks. We are trying to find the lies. We are trying to find the truth. Let's say we go jump on their side. Let's say that whatever evidence they've got, whoever they mingle through, maybe they can see something different to make it look like it actually is real. Or maybe they're just dumb as shit and they don't really know and they're puppets, and someone from higher up on the pyramid is actually saying, well, this is what we need to do because it's an agenda and da-da-da-da-da. Just tell them anything, tell them something. This is what we pay them for. They want those jobs on the panel, on the anchor, you know, they want to be that seat. They want that money. They want to mingle. Okay. You tell them this, tell them that this is what they have to run for. If they like their job that much, you have to tell them this. So, you know, either they're just stupid, they don't care or whatever. But look, I'll put it to you this way. I've say this through Instagram, but I only say it, you know, via pictures and cryptic weird messages, which some people probably don't understand. But look at who's telling us all this, right? People that don't look fit and healthy. You know, people that are telling us to do things different. Like, no offense to Tracy Grimshaw, bro, but she looks like, bro, she loves the carbohydrates, man. You know, she loves the sugars. You seen that thing on the desk? Like, she's like, I know you can't see me, but she's like sitting there telling you the news, but she's overweight and she's trying to tell you. And that Matthew guy, and I don't even know the Victoria. You know what? It's only been probably the last 2 weeks I've actually figured out who our premiers are and who our prime minister is. I didn't even know our prime minister was Scott Morrison. But, bro, I can tell you the whole house of cards in America. I can tell you, you know, who all these – because I have no idea what's going on in Australia. Like, people say – someone said to me the other day, what do you think about Melbourne and what's going on in Melbourne? I just said, look, man, I ain't in tune to that. I don't even care. Melbourne's Melbourne. Fuck those weird motherfuckers. They don't know shit. But yeah, look, you know, we're taking health advice from people that can't even take care of their own health, you know? So it's dumb. So look, it's rather spooky, and I'm going to take you on a little journey. Okay. Cause this is kind of where I'm blown away. Right. So look, you know that I haven't drunk, I've been sober and all this stuff. So my time and my energy now is kind of all into kind of being better, right? Trying to figure myself out, trying to, you know, eat the right foods, trying to, you know, do all the things that's kind of raise my vibrations, right? So I'm starting to understand consciousness, vibrations, what's the other word that goes with vibrations? There's
frequencies.
No, hang on. What's the word? Hang on. What's the word?
Well, vibrations are frequencies.
Frequency.
That's
it. So
I'm
starting to understand consciousness. I'm starting to understand frequency, and I'm starting to understand vibrations. Right now, go back a couple of years ago, and if somebody was to talk to me about vibrations and frequencies and consciousness, I'd be looking at them and going, far out, man, you sound like a crazy church guy that is a born again Christian. Like, it's almost like it's like It's you're listening to a church guy. You know that one family friend that comes to the house barbecue that is now in the church, and he speaks all, within faith, and have you should come down to church and come and meet all these people. Yeah, they're lovely, and they try and push you into the church vibe. Like, to me, that's what, like, frequency, vibration, consciousness, and all this spiritual and galactic sort of stuff, and space and science and all this stuff, that's kind of what it sounds like to some people, right? But it's now the sort of circle of it is getting wider and wider and wider and wider. So, it's almost like the more people are starting to disconnect from that system, from the mainstream, are starting to get in tune with their conscious and starting to be aware of it, and starting to go, well, that doesn't make sense, and I'm going to question that, because, like, I'm now in tune with myself, so I'm now starting to, I get it. That's a load of shit. We're being brainwashed. We're being manipulated. We're being lied to. We're being, So, yeah, look, I've been on this crazy journey, and I'm starting to understand it all. And I've had some crazy things happen to me where, it explains quantum physics and the simulation theory, and explains the parallel universes and the multi-dimensional universes, and what all the scientists say, that we're in this sort of universe that, through time and space, basically it's ones and zeros, and sort of patterns and symbols and all of this stuff, which is all like the language of the universe. But we are on this sort of timeline where there's multiple versions of ourselves living out multiple versions of life in the same sort of time, and it goes for infinity. Like, there's people saying that, right? But I'm not sort of channeling into anything, but I feel like there's all this stuff happening to me where I'm kind of like am channeling into some stuff. Like, I can, like, again, I don't watch the TV. The only time I see the TV is when I'm in the gym, and I just see it and I see the subtitles. So my information, it's not like someone's telling me something and then I'm repeating it. It's how I feel, right? It's how I feel. I'll go and have a conversation with a friend, or throughout the day, I'm just thinking, thinking of, like, my brain doesn't work, and it's like, this afternoon, I've got to go to the shops. I've got to buy this. I've got to buy that. I've got to da 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 da. Like, my brain doesn't work like that. My brain works like trying to figure out who built the pyramids, like, through the day. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. I just go, I wonder I wonder who did really build the pyramids. I wonder, like, this, like, I want to know. I want the answers. I think it's to do with a Virgo, like they want all the questions asked. But my brain's just not wired like everyone else. Like, I want to know. Like, I want to know the future. I want to know the past. I want to know history. Like, I'm amazed by where we all come from and evolution. So I can just think what I think is going on in the world, and I'll tell people, and the next minute I'll hear someone that's into sort of channeling, or a medium, or a psychic, and translate what I believe in another way that explains consciousness and explains vibration, explains all of this stuff. And I'll go, holy shit, like, that's how I'm feeling. And it's rather scary. Like, I'll give you an example of something, something happened to me. I went to yoga the other night, right? And we, you go into your shavasana. Yeah. So we're at the end, at the end, and you come up and you put your hand into your heart center, and they say a little word, and then you kind of put your hand up like this, and you take a minute. Well, in that sort of that time to take a minute, I've now gone from, I know you can probably see me, so I'm not in this physical body, right? So I'm here, but I've managed to get myself here, right? So having my hands to my head like this, I'm no longer this. I'm no longer this body, but I'm actually here, and I'm there. So I'm actually seeing with my third eye. So I'm here, and I look into my palm, and there's a blue light, like a small sort of like small bearing, kind of like an orb, but shining blue, and it's in the palm of my hand. And I just heard that plane. I was going to say, are they spraying the atmosphere with chemtrails?
My work is right near John Wayne Airport, like next to it. So planes fly over.
You cut out then. Anyway, so I had the blue orb in the hand, and I said to the teacher, the class teacher, I said, "What is the blue chakra?" Right, and the blue chakra is, I think, the top one, your third eye, and then I think the one up above that. I don't know that exact color, but like that shouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like that shouldn't happen. Like I shouldn't have that experience, but I've had all these other weird experiences with stuff similar to that. And now I've been into
Why do you say you shouldn't have that experience?
well, I mean, because it's like this picture here, like it's like you got the lion, you've got the turtle, you got the blue, you got the colors. Like it's like this psychedelic sort of, outer dimensional sort of vision. On paper, this is a creation, right? Seeing this like as I don't know how I describe seeing the ball, like that's an imagination, like that's not real, that's a thought. So you're then confused.
But we don't. I mean, we don't know that because we naturally produce DMT in our body, but we have to take something to release the enzyme that allows us to release the DMT that's in our body that allows us to see the world in a very different light. And we don't know that the way we see the world in that light isn't the real reality of life versus what we see on a daily basis when we aren't releasing DMT. So, because people experience the release of DMT just through breathing exercises and breath work and have those experiences, and we know that from plant medicines that's what happens. That when we use ayahuasca or psilocybin, that it blocks the enzymes that block the release, that unblock the release of DMT, and then we're able to have this experience, which is classed as a hallucinogen, where we see the world in a different light. But how do we know that when we unlock the DMT to allow us to see that that's not really the reality of where we are, and that our day-to-day living is the abstract version of reality to where we could be? So it's you're having what sounds like more to be an enlightening conscious awakening where you are able to get into a deep meditative state or a state where you can see things potentially for what they really are instead of being subjected to the subconscious conditioning and the mind control type style reality that we're told to believe, which is what we're stuck in. So
That's
depending on your belief system, you might be getting to a stage where you're above all that. You know what I mean?
So what are you trying to say? That potentially I've just produced DMT?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, more than likely. However I created that or however it happened.
I'm saying you've actively done something to release it because it's already in your body. It's already there.
Well, here's the best way to put it, right? So everything you do in life is an experience. right? And whether you have that experience, right, is either sort of transformed into whether it's substance or whether it's whatever you've ingested or if it's something, you know, you've taken orally or whatever. So if you have alcohol, you're having an experience, right? And it's a part of you that's experiencing something a little bit different where you start to get wild and crazy and loud and messy and sloppy and arrogant and all these things, right? If you were to say to somebody, that's not real and that's not true, we'll go, well, yes, it is, because I was at the barbecue when I drank those 10 beers and everyone was there and everyone seen me act that way. And you go, no, no, but that doesn't exist because you've had something to change your perception, right? So if you're having smoking weed, you turn into a, no offense, but not like a stoner. Like some people get stoned, some people don't, some people get paranoid, but you're taking something, so it's changing your sort of perception of reality, right? So again, you smoke weed and you go, hey man, like I'm seeing things, I'm seeing stars and rainbows and pretty unicorns, right? Well, that is something that's making you see that. But again, it's real. Okay. So remove alcohol, remove drugs, remove all these things. Be sober, be connected to yourself, be spiritually aware, and you can start to have these things that you go, well, it's actually more real than what you think because there's no external influence that I'm allowing in. This is all me. So if this is all me, we are actually something very fucking powerful, you know? And then, yes, you look at what they do in society with the fear and the propaganda, and they want you down there vibrating at that frequency so that they know that you're never going to experience that and go, holy shit, I am more powerful than that clown on the TV. I am way more powerful than it because I can do these things, you know, like I can see that orb. I can vibrate at this frequency with everything below me doesn't exist because that you completely, that version of reality, that world, all of that chaosness, that the fear, the destruction, the violence, the home invasions, all this sort of stuff, yeah, it happens in other people's realities. But remove crime and remove all this shit within in my world because my vibrations are higher. Well, then that doesn't really exist in my world, you know? So how far you can go? Well, then coronavirus doesn't exist in my world because I'm not consuming it. It doesn't, you know? So yeah, like it's absolutely bizarre. And you cannot look like, okay, so what I was trying to say earlier was, you know, about my kind of not gone off topic, but I want to kind of go back because this isn't like, you know, again, the coincidence of Trump being elected president in 2016 and this stuff going on, like everything that's kind of been going on, it's been like this 20-year-old movie, right? But I've been into sort of the pyramid sort of stuff, profits and all this stuff since probably the 90s. In 2008, 2009, I stumbled upon this thing called the Nibiru and Planet X. And then from that, I think it was like 2010, I stumbled upon the Mayan calendar, right? Anyway, from after I stumbled upon the Mayan calendar and then 2 years after that, I thought that we were doomed because the Mayan calendar says that it kind of ends. So I thought in December 21st, 2012, that the world was going to end because the Mayan calendar was real and it got all these, you know, geologists and Egyptologists and scientists all thinking that, you know, something was going to happen because of this, the Mayan calendar and the sophistication to it was rather accurate, and that they knew about astrology and they shouldn't, or whether they were connected to the gods and da-da-da-da-da. And they used to take DMT, right? They used to take the ayahuascas and they used to do some weird things. They used to connect to the gods. But So 2010, I got wind of the Mayan calendar, and then it was meant to end. But then I heard that there was this planet called Planet X, and it comes into our solar system every 3,600 years or every 36,000 years, right? And you know about Nibiru and Anunnaki and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah?
Oh, no, no,
You've never heard of Anunnaki and Nibiru?
no.
Okay, well, they're meant to be our creators. They're meant to be what they talk about in the Bible. The gods come down from heaven and the Nephilim and all these weird, kooky names, right? So anyway, so another planet was meant to come into our solar system in 2012, which was going to, because of how large the planet was, it was going to make the Earth tilt on axis and change make the pole shift. And that would increase tidal waves, volcanoes, all these things. So at that time in 2012, all of these things were going off throughout the world with catastrophes and tsunamis, all this sorts of stuff. So it started to get kind of weird. Anyway, a bunch of people thought that Mayan calendar that this planet was going to come to orbit. Well, look, guess what? It's 2020 and it didn't, because we're all still here, right? But they reckon that 2012 is actually now 2020. And the calendar was off. We're talking like hundreds and thousands of years old. This ancient Mayan Aztec calendar was off by a couple of years. And this is what's playing out, right? So what I was saying when I said that I'm telling people what my version of what I see that's going on in the world, it's almost like I'm 2 steps in front, where I'm seeing things before everyone else. And then I'm telling people that this is what's going on, and then I'm hearing all these channelers talk about it, right? But I, again, have had these experiences in yoga and stuff like that. And, you know, what I see and what I feel is happening. And, you know, when I say that Trump's doing all this for humanity and Trump's doing all this thing, that outside of our 3-dimensional world of what our eyes can see, is that this other crazier thing galactically that's going on, you know, whether it's a race war, whether it's a spirit war, whether it's like we are in a simulation and we are in a game, and in the universe there's like this space war going on with these different beings or these different dimensional beings that are just trying to sort out their differences by using us as a vessel. So via human race, via Chinese, via Polish, via Australian, via British, via European, there are those sort of entities in another dimension, but they're fighting it out. But how they're fighting it out is by the chaos and destruction here. So like whether this is a crazy fucking spirit world and we're in this sort of simulation that's kind of being played out, which again connects to this 2012 and connects to this Mayan calendar. And what they think is that when they turn CERN on and the Hadron Collider, and you know about CERN.
Yeah, only through you though.
Oh, really? Why
Yeah.
don't people know about this?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, there's a level of like you've been very inquisitive and very open-minded into wanting to explore more potential outcomes and more information on what you think is happening now, principally because like what they're trying to tell us to believe. What you touched on something earlier about it doesn't feel right, and for me, from the very get-go, it was the same. It doesn't feel right, and from a very primitive level of just being a being that is built from energy, and we talked about frequency waves. Like from this, you know, we come from with an atom. There's a positive and negative charge. An atom makes up a molecule. A molecule makes up a protein, and protein makes up the cells, and we're made of cells. So from a very simple level, we're just a ball of energy, and you know, things just didn't feel right. I was the same. It was like, and from a very primitive level, we have instincts for a reason, and it doesn't feel right. And when we talk about, saying people are dumb and stupid, I've done the same thing, but it's kind of harsh because a lot of the people that are on the bandwagon and following it all, they don't know any different. They've been trained to be that way. And from a very early stage, that there's only a certain handful of people that literally controlled the whole entire world's wealth. And we're structured to believe that money is what controls our lives. And we become dependent on our governments, and our governments were put in place by the people that had all the money. All our medical facilities were funded by people that had all the money. So then you've got a handful of people that have always had the narrative of where they want the world structure to go. And so because you're not consumed by that, you're like, oh, well, I want to learn it. I want to learn a bit more. And we don't know the truth. We don't. When you talk about anything like nutrition, we have like maybe 100 years of information around nutrition and diets. That means we know fuck all. Like we've been here for 200,000 years. We don't know anything about ourselves. We don't know where we came from. Everything is speculative. Like, and then we talk about divide. How do if you go to the, hey?
Did you say we've been here for 200,000 years?
Well, according to some research, or we don't know. We don't know anything. We don't. Sorry?
I didn't know if that's what you said.
That is what I said, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, keep going.
Well, this one thing, everything is speculative. We don't know anything at all.
I know.
Everything is speculative. Just because we've found this or scientists have done this, it doesn't mean they know. It's speculative research. And then the reason we're so divided is because the simple art of war, if you divide, you conquer. And we divide ourselves through politics, racism, country, religion. We're constantly, people are making, governing bodies that divide us and keep us separated because, like you said very early on in the piece, we are one thing. We are humans. We have the same structures. We bleed. Like we are the same thing biologically. Like we are just humans. But we're told to segregate and separate ourselves through all these different outlets, through religion and politics. And then the reason you're having a different experience is because you don't resonate with any of it.
Well, that's it. I mean, we are all one consciousness, just having different variational experiences of ourselves. That's all we're doing, really. Like I'm you, and you're me. I'm you. We're both each other, sort of thing. But I'm just experiencing the me in a Troy-like body, and you're just experiencing you in a Jonathan-like body, and the guy next door, and so on and so on and so forth. Like there's so many different versions of ourselves that we're just on a day-to-day basis, just having so many different sort of experiences through the same sort of consciousness in the power of the collective, or whoever God is, whoever the creator is, And yeah, look,
well, I think just one thing quickly. I just want to say one thing quickly, because you spoke about obviously Trump and the position he's in and how he got there, and we talked about collective consciousness and people being together. The reason he's there is because of the people. That's it. Like he can't do this on his own.
Can you? Yes, exactly. I'm going to get into that in 2 seconds. Can you just do me a favor and just tweak your headphones up a little bit, because I catch your words, but just wherever's best to maybe. I don't know if it maybe is the headphone. It's not the delay I'm getting. It's almost like something's tuning in and is not letting you say the important stuff in censoring, but something's allowing the stuff that everything else you're saying come through, but the good stuff not. So is everything I'm saying a complete clear line?
Yeah, the whole time.
Oh, good. So I have, because you might say 10 words, I only hear 6 of them.
Has that been the whole time?
So I only heard one thing then.
All right, hold on. Just let's
You look like a lumberjack. Hey, where's your axe? Are you there?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
Bro, every word.
Yeah, but now your volume's not coming through. What's going on here?
Have you got headphones with the microphone?
Okay, that's better. I can hear you now.
I can hear you now, every word.
Has it been like that the whole time though?
Yeah, it has.
Why don't you say something like an hour and a half ago?
I didn't want to be rude.
Yeah, but then like most of the shit I've said is not even on there. So what's the point?
No. Like it is. Like it is. I know what I know what you're saying, and I hear what you're saying, and everything else like that. But it's only not every time, but just sometimes it comes through, and it doesn't. Like, yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Sweet.
Yeah, cool. But then you said I know you said sweet, but that
Yep.
didn't come. So how did what were you the webinar thing you were on the other day? Like what was that all about?
Oh, that was a guy I recently did a business development course based around digitizing your business, so it's online. And he was on the course, and he runs. It was more designed around men's mental health and the use of physical training, coupled with other things, but the use of physical training to help battle with depression and anxiety. But so it's Steve Williams, his name is Underground Strength, but he's very, very vocal, like yourself, on mainly Facebook about the stupidity of what's happening. Like he shares the same views in regards to, just having common sense and understanding science in regards to things not making sense. So, we spoke a lot about everything from men's mental health, what we've done in regards to breaking free of things like addiction and self-sabotaging behavior, and we touched a bit on obviously today's climate and what's happening around the world with everything that's sort of come about from the whole COVID pandemic.
Did you say climate?
No, I said COVID pandemic.
No, but before that, I thought you said something about climate. I thought you said climate. I only heard half a word.
Oh yeah, I use climate as a way of terminologizing what's happening in our society. Not climate change, no.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap up what I was sort of experiencing and kind of what I'm experiencing. Okay, so with the CERN and the Hadron Collider, what CERN is, they call it's a Hadron Collider, and it smashes particles and atoms, and it's like on the border of France and Geneva, Switzerland, and it goes for like 17 miles under the ground and is like so many hundreds of meters deep within the ground, and it's a big circle, it's a big science project, and what these crazy scientists are doing is they're getting these atoms and they're smashing it together at the speed of light to recreate the Big Bang. Now, they've had this thing turned on, and everyone keeps saying, this is crazy, because what you're doing is they're using like this accelerator to smash atoms to recreate the Big Bang. So you can only imagine if you're starting to mess around with that sort of stuff, what's going to happen. And they seem to think that when they turned the Hadron Collider on and fired it up, that it's split the reality that we know in two, right? So there's two versions, okay? So in the parallel universe theory and the multi-dimensional plane, that our Earth in this, current movement in space and time has split in two, and there's two versions. So if you look at what's going on, two versions being good and evil, right? Two versions being COVID's real, COVID's not real. two versions being, well, right now we have a choice on picking and choosing what version we want. Okay. Now, the version of one possibility. Now, I've had these moments where if I start to eat junk food and stop training and stuff like that, I can get lazy and I can get sloppy, I can get depressed, I can get unhappy. Now, that being one version in this world of this split sort of timeline, right? So the version of me being sloppy and lazy still exists in this other world, but that is the bad scenario. That is the bad outcome. That's where COVID wins. That's where Donald Trump doesn't get elected. That's where I'm a sloppy mess. I'm lazy. I'm eating junk food, right? But the fight that I'm in now is maintaining a healthy lifestyle and going on this path, the one with good, where COVID's a scam and is a hoax. So it's like we're at this battle on whatever. So it's like the TV news media want to keep you here and controlled in fear, right? In this controlled state, in the doom and gloom scenario of that version of life, right? And to keep you trapped in the 3D realm of third dimensional world where we're kind of transitioning through the universe from this dark to light stage, and there's people ascending, right? And there's people that are awakening. So we're moving in this space in time where we're going from dark to light, and there's like this movement and globally, worldwide, yes, people are awakening because people are kind of making that change and aren't stuck in this three-dimensional world. They're ascending and they're transitioning into the fifth dimensional world of a good version of thing. And the power of collective. So when they shut the world down, no places of prayer, no places of worship, no church, no thing, you're squashing the power of good and peace down. So the evil, the Bill Gates, the virus, the CCP, the New World Order, they can take control. It's like someone jumped in halfway through the game and messed around with the Matrix. It's like somebody that knows about this and knows about consciousness, that knows about vibration, that knows about how all this stuff sort of works. It's almost like someone jumped in and changed the game a little bit. It's almost like when you look at the World Trade Centers, right? When you look at that, you go, that doesn't make sense. That is an inside job. That is a controlled attack. That is something like that version of life in another dimension, in another form of reality shouldn't have existed. That version shouldn't have took place. That version, someone hijacked it. It's almost like exactly right now. And that is because of the power of the collective, right? And they were easily able to get a grip, to get us in that state of fear. Again, close the places of prayer, places of worship, churches, stuff like that, and try to think. But because Trump's in power, because this light transitioning is happening, the power of the good is now starting to be in more control, where people, yes, more people are awakening, and the collective of that side of it is what is going, no, I'm not wearing the mask. I'm not locking down. I'm not doing that. I'm going to stop acquiescing, what David Icke has been saying, what Alex Jones has been saying, because you're complying with what they're saying, you're giving them the power. But if you stand up and you say no, you're going to kill it. You're going to squash it, because we are more powerful. We are powerful within ourselves. So I see this whole different version being played out where I feel that I'm stuck in those two versions. And what I'm kind of getting at, what I'm kind of saying is, I heard someone speak that is a channeler and say this, and say that this with the CERN, that this version in reality has been split in two. So that's why it's almost like, that's why the media is trying to hold us and keep us here, so that they can play out that globalist attack and the New World Order and the introduction of artificial intelligence and all of this sort of stuff, where that is kind of what they're trying to introduce. It's almost like they're trying to kill the human species or kind of get us in this sort of RoboCop sort of, I don't know, like place in the future. Like you think about it, like the Terminator version or the Total Recall, like all of that is just subliminal programming, right? You look at those people that put the movies on that TV and all the Hollywood directors, they're all connected to the elites of elites of elites. They know the secrets. You know, they're all like the Jew, like everyone in Hollywood's a Jew. Do you know what I mean? And where did the sort of, you look at the biblical sense of it and stuff out of the Bible, like everything come from like Israel or you know, you had the chaosness with World War II and Hitler and stuff like that. And like everything always goes back to the Jews for some reason and stuff. And so, yeah, so you think about it and you go, well, what if there was like some Hollywood grandson, you know, grandson of Steven Spielberg that used to hear you know, like these people talk that could connect to like psychic people, like say for example they were psychics and they're going, well, this is what's going to happen in the future, like this is what's going to happen, and little grandkids heard about it and made a movie about it. You know, like that's almost what I kind of look at it when I see movies. I think somebody's connected here spiritually, or someone knows what's going to play out in the multi-dimensional world and whatever version. And by the power of the collective and by the power of that belief system is the one that's going to win. So if we watch Terminator 2 and we consume all that, and you get a lot of people in that reality, because your reality is whatever you consume, then that version of life could play out. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it does, because you can look back at
That's
movies
what
that are
I'm
20
going.
years old, 30 years old. Yeah, and they exist now. So it's because you got to remember that even on a simple level, like everything in our world was just once a crazy fucking idea for one person, and they made it a reality. Like the car, the phones we have now have the same technology and power that we used to send fucking, you know, people to the moon, you know, back in the 70s. So, you know, like that's when it comes to consciousness and the ability for us to create, our thoughts and what we tell ourselves become our truths eventually. The more we see it, the more we do it, and that's the basis of subconscious conditioning. And you know, you can look back through the 70s. What?
I was going to say, so what you said about that our thoughts end up being our reality, but when you say thoughts, like, because there's some things that I think about that I can't do. You know, so what part of your thought actually is actually like, is it what's like, as they say,
No. You just said it. You said I have some thoughts that I can't do. So you've created that reality. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but you believe you can't, so that's your reality.
Okay.
And you don't go stupid on me and say, "Oh, I can't walk up a 24-story." No. Like what I'm saying, like your thoughts become your reality. So when you say you can't do something, that's you're creating that reality. And you don't be stupid and go, "Oh, I can't just walk up a 24-story building and believe I can jump off and fly," because then you're going against the laws of physics and gravity. But on a level of like sporting achievements and day-to-day life and achievements, if you tell yourself you can't do something, then you're telling yourself that that's your reality, that you can't do something. You know, if you tell yourself you can do something, even if you can't do it the first time, through repetition and that subconscious programming, you over time with practice and the belief that you can do it will achieve it. And then that comes back to the level of like subconscious conditioning and programming, which relates back to you talking about Hollywood and the connections of what they're putting in front of you and subliminal programming. The more you see it, the more it becomes your truth. Even if it's subliminal and you don't actually notice it, the more you see it and your brain connects with it subconsciously, it becomes your truth.
But, you know, we have tens and tens and tens of thousands of thoughts a day. You know, you compare those thoughts a day into hours and minutes, and there's not enough, even if you want to say it, well, I'm being negative and saying, well, I can't do that because that's a thought. Let's be positive and go, well, I can do everything that I think about there's really not enough time in the day to actually do everything I think about.
Yeah, but with the brain, you may process up to tens and thousands bits of information a day, but you only retain about 2,000 bits of those tens of thousands of information bits of process that goes through your brain. So your brain is only able to actually retain a small amount of the thoughts that you process. So then it's like being consciously aware. It's like you start to put energy and direction into what's important to you, because like for someone who's not overly thinking throughout the day, which is most of society, 95% of their day is spent in subconscious thought process, which means they're not actually thinking for themselves because subconsciousness is autonomous. So it's all learnt behaviors. It's like driving a manual car. You don't think about it because you've learnt that and you've done it so much that no longer you have to think about it. Tying your shoelaces, brushing your teeth, eating, cooking meals, they're all subconscious parts of your brain and how it works. You don't actually think about it. You don't consciously think about it. But to change that, you start to consciously think about things. And because you're on a journey of like wanting to connect more with what's happening in the world and life, you're outside the 95%. You I don't know, I can't put a percentage rate on it, but you're consciously thinking more that's outside of your subconscious. But while you're doing that, so you're doing it while you're driving because you're subconsciously driving the car, taking the turns and doing everything because you know where to go and you've been there. Most places you go, you've been there before, so you don't have to think about going there. So then now your conscious thought process is going into things that you're interested in, like the sun and everything you spoke about that's outside of what your day-to-day subconscious is used to.
Yeah. So maybe you need to
What
look.
I'm saying though, on a simple level, in regards to your thoughts and what you tell yourself become your truths. It's the whole, what if you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that. That becomes your truth, even though a person in the exact same position with you can tell themselves differently that they can do this and they can do that, and they change their life and have those results. That's how powerful your thought process is in regards to who you are and who you become. The more you negatively tell yourself you can't do something, then that's your truth. You can't. But you can shift that perspective and start to tell yourself and do things and act in ways that resonates with being able to do that. And you will change. You will change and be able to do the things you once thought you couldn't do.
Well, you're exactly right, and that's by raising your vibrations.
Yeah,
Um,
you're 100%.
yeah. So and again, like this is where you pick and choose. Like when I do those runs, I put so much energy into it, and I put so much time into it, so much sort of discipline. The diet's restricted, right? Where I cross that finish line, I get a medal, and then it's almost like that's it. Like there's no reward. Like we're a rewarded species. Hunt, gather, spend days hunting for the food, get it, come back, prep it, sit there with your little tribe, your little community, your little whatever, and prepare the food. So that's your reward. Work hard Monday to Friday, have beers at the end of the weekend. That's your reward. Like we got to have a reward system. So I cross the finish line, I get a medal because I don't drink. There's no reward, right? So my reward is thinking I now deserve junk food, right? Oh, yes, like I've been training so long, like, oh, yeah, and I'm going to enjoy it. Like I'll be driving, okay, choices, decisions, driving home from work. Now, should I go to the gym? Should I stay on the path of being fit and healthy? And it's like, nah, you deserve it. You deserve this. Go and get Krispy Kremes. Go and get junk food, right? By choice. By choice, I'm now becoming lazy. Okay. You
Yeah,
can
but
shift.
like those things are conditioning too, because you started off like those things are choice of conditions because you started off very primitive, where the reward was hunting, gathering, and eating. But when you talk about the reward was living. because if you didn't do that, you'd die. Now you're talking about, oh, I'm going to get Krispy Kreme. That's just because you're conditioned by bullshit society, which is all subconscious conditioning. Because if you don't get Krispy Kreme, you're not going to fucking die. But if you don't go hunt and gather when you got no food, you're going to fucking die. So the reward comes down back down to like wants and needs. Like you talk primitively, like hunting and gathering and having to get food. You fucking need that, because if you don't, you're going to die. When you want Krispy Kreme, that's because you want it. You don't need it. So that's a choice and a decision, which comes back to, you know, what you tell yourself become your truths. So because of society, your beliefs are that because I worked hard and I ate well and I did this, now I can eat shit food. But that's
No,
just your
where
that's your
where I'm taking this, is that I will slip, and I'll start to get lazy thoughts and develop lazy thoughts, right? And start to go again, then to reduce these vibrations, and to then choose, now I've got this choice of being a different version of myself, being sloppy, lazy, stuck in that sort of vortex of things, where all I was trying to say is that whenever I find myself slipping like that, or making these stupid, lazy choices, and again, like, using this consciousness and using the vibration theory and all this sort of stuff, is that I will then go into like doing these meditations of quantum jumping, or meeting your higher self. And doing these meditations and doing the quantum jumps is then allowing me to kick those bad habits and those bad choices, to get back on the path and to get back up here when I slip. And yeah, it's just this really weird emotional roller coaster when it comes to, consuming those poisonous bad foods that they allow us to eat, the cheaper options. And the thought, like, it's like what the system and the design of it is like, that's where they want you to be in life. They want you to be down there. They want you eating their poisonous foods. They want you believing their poisonous media. They want you dumbed down to the society. They want you lazy. They want you sick. They want you taking their prescription medicines. They want you making, their big pharmaceutical companies richer. They don't want you to be good. They don't want you to be positive. They don't want you to be fit and active. They want you to be scared of this virus because they don't care about you.
yeah. But also you got to remember that everything you just spoke about, and you said it openly, was they were your choices and your decisions, but based off their programming. But you know better, so you shouldn't fall back into that, because then it's your choice and your decision, even though they've set you up for that fall.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, with saying that, what I mean is like, whatever bullshit and chemicals they put in the foods, is, in a sense a drug, or in a sense something that's making you think that way. So it's like, that maybe they can control your thoughts. They can manipulate how you feel, because we know that they can change your belief system by manipulating that through power of TV and media that, we don't.
That's what I mean, though. Like, yes, there's obviously a lot of garbage in the food that becomes addictive. But when you say you've basically been cleansed because you've done a run and you've been healthy, and it's out of your body, when you choose to go back to it, that's all in your mind. It's got nothing to do with what you've eaten, because you're clean now. So you can't put it on a chemical or anything that's in the food, because you've just run all that shit out of your body. Like, you've been healthy, you've been eating well, you've been doing this, and then you choose to stumble and fall back. That's in here. And that's from the way they construct everything through advertising and what you see. But because you know better, it's still your choice to do that, because you now know better, and you know a lot about subconscious conditioning and, food and nutrition. And so if you fall back to that, that's on you, you know what I mean? Because you know better.
So where do you see us heading? Where do you see the future? How much longer have you got in the States?
I'm not coming home.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that
no, I'm not.
you're there for good.
Yeah, right. I'm not coming home.
Oh, well, that's great. I thought you were only there for 3 months. Okay, cool. So where do you see us headed? Like what do you see you know, when I say, is this a external war between good versus evil, you know, and the power of evil is trying to take control by the words of Trump and that sort of movement of things. But where do you see this all going? Like, what do you have hope?
I 100%. Yeah, I know we've spoken like for months now, and from the very get go, when it came to a feeling wise, I mean, I was in some pretty awesome communities in Perth that are very awoken in regards to daily rituals and activities that they do to disconnect from, the media and all this bullshit that we're faced with. But the more like I've had to sort of step away from being consumed by it because it just takes up too much of your headspace. And I genuinely, in my heart, and from the interactions I have and the people I see and the stories I hear, and outside of social media, I mean, just in society. So, because people say, oh, if it's social media, you can have one narrative because of the people you follow. But I mean, I generally see a, a beautiful future and a conscious awakening. But I genuinely believe that that is based on what happens around the American election. And if Trump gets elected, which I believe he will, and I believe that's what we need, then I think we're going to see a very huge shift in regards to a positive outlook for humanity and for the future. If he doesn't, that shows a sign that, well, we aren't woken up and we're going to have a long time.
Well, I mean, that's all well and good, but then what about like all this stuff with the censorship? And I'm sure that you've probably got the message through Google when you go into Google search, or got the message through YouTube about how media are now, you know, for advertisement purposes, starting to. I don't look, to me, the way I word it, they're trying to say that external sources are trying to use your data for information and sell that off to third party companies. But to me, I read that and I go, no, what you're trying to say is you're going to try and stop me from seeing the things that I need to see, and you're trying to censor me, and you're trying to only give me the information that you want me to get. So when you see the sort of how China is, that China's government has control of their Google. Like China's government only allow them to get the information that they need. Like they don't have Facebook, they don't have all of these sorts of things, you know. So that's that to me. So, you know, like, yeah, let's say Trump does get a second term and Trump does this thing. Like, how are we as Australians gonna, or how am I gonna benefit from that when, you know, again, this is American politics, you know, and globally,
Well,
yes.
well, Silicon Valley's in California. It's in America, and currently, like, these big tech companies don't really have any laws or rules or regulation on them. And Trump has, even in within the last 12 months, started to bring in regulations so they can be held accountable. I think he's in a situation where he's being mindful of, he needs that we need that next term. But once that next term comes in, then he's got full throttle to start putting a bit more regulatory reform in on companies
Yeah,
like Google, YouTube.
I get that, but
And
what
yeah.
I get that, but what I was just trying to say is okay. Let's say, you know, the future is peaceful, happiness, stuff like that, and you know, you do see Trump do a second term. Like, do you think that, you know, you like, because Melbourne's been played out by the hands of the Chinese and is China centric. Like, we don't have a Donald Trump here standing up against the Chinese, but the Chinese have all of a sudden just kind of feel like they've just taken this strong grip around Victoria and around Australia to try and take charge and power. Where, like, you know, is Australia as a society fucked now because of the social credit system and all of this stuff that they're rolling out? Like, is this going to go away for the rest of the world, or is Australia now going to be heavily impacted and screwed long term?
I think Australia will be, only because our government has sold us out to the Chinese. China owns all our main infrastructures, agriculture, farming land, shipping ports. Like, in some ways, Australia's fucked.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Sorry, bro. That's why I'm not coming back.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You know what, the thing though, I think that, um, like Australia, we have a lot of import and export and connection to China, but we're also an ally of America, and we we're like I wouldn't say a younger brother or sister, more like a cousin from another country to America in regards to things that we do and we associate with. So I think with Trump winning, with Trump winning, it throws a spanner into China's works, because they're the cocksuckers who have started all this and are just sitting there waiting for everything to roll out, and see what happens. So if Trump wins, then they've got some big issues and it will change things. And I do see enough in Australia in regards to people being made aware of what our government's done in regards to selling us out to the Chinese. And we are, at our core value, we are a pretty patriotic sort of nation in regards to, when you to think about where we've come from, it's like mates looking after mates, and
there's
and
no,
you
there's no,
know,
there's no patriots here like you got the patriots in America. Like you see all the patriots in the Trump rallies. Like those numbers are big. You know, the white Australian man in those numbers are very, very, very small, because we are sort of like that open border sort of country where there are a lot of Indians, there are a lot of Africans, there are a lot of Chinese, there are a lot of Lebanese, there are a lot of Greeks, there are a lot of Turkish. Like, you know, the numbers of the Australian people are so small to standing up to being sort of patriotic. Like you've got the Trump movement over there. Like, you know,
yeah,
America,
but look,
American.
look, look at where it's only a matter of time, because you've got all these immigrants that have come from countries of communist type rule. They came to Australia to avoid that. You think they're going to just fucking cop all that shit after running away from countries where that's why they left in the first place? So you got a lot of Eastern Europeans and people from countries, war-torn countries, that were from dictatorships and communism, to have a better quality of life. Do you think they're just going to go, okay, I just risked everything to leave my country to come here to have a quality of life and freedom, and even just the simple core values of Australians, like the Anzacs and that. We put shit on bogans, but I can't imagine many bogans just reforming to, like, wanting to do what the Chinese say.
Well, you've got this what are they calling it? Like the basic income that's coming through now, and the universal basic income. What is it, UBI or something? But you got the basic income that I can see that's going to happen in Australia. But yeah, like the bogans definitely aren't going to stand up for the people. Like they're stuck in the system. You know, the in around Penrith here, there's a lot of white people now that are all heavily addicted to ice. So I'm not saying that the population of white Australians are drug addicts, but you know, we don't have that power in numbers. Like in a political sense, I think the country's so gone now, because you're getting everyone now that's plugged into the matrix and plugged into the system, of that their system of belief is all leftist, is all that narrative, is all sort of a multi-raced country where there's no power to the people anymore, because they are all now sheep. You know, they're gone. Like, and it is definitely scary. We're like, look, I what I'm kind of trying to do on Instagram is I'm saying things forcefully. I'm saying things loud, not loudly enough, but I'm using sort of cryptic words and pictures and stuff like that to try and awaken people. But I think that more people need to kind of spread a message to awaken others, to say, look, it's up to you to say, no, I'm not standing on that line. I'm not wearing that fucking mask. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing, David Icke says, stop acquiescing. Acquiescing is, going ahead with that without protesting, like saying, you know, I will surrender myself. I will surrender and bow down to you by wearing that Luciferian mask that you're telling me to wear that makes no sense, and being muzzled and censored and not saying the things that I need to say, you know, and not open up and not express myself and social distance so I can't go closely to somebody and go, hey, this doesn't feel right. This is weird. This is strange. This doesn't make sense. So we're not close to each other anymore. And so we can't speak to each other and just go, well, hang on, you think like I think. So that doesn't happen now in today's society. Now we're going to separate you and we're going to divide you. And we're going to put this plastic screen in between you and this other person that's a human being that's exactly like you, that bleeds the same color blood, that is, you know, consciously is you in another version of whatever you want to call it in the matrix of the game. But so you don't wake up, we're going to keep you in this controlled environment because we're going to tell you something. We're going to tell you you need to be fearful. You need to be scared of that person that's not wearing a mask, because that person that's not wearing a mask is putting your life at risk. That person that's not wearing a mask is going to probably quite possibly kill your grandparents if you contract this virus and you make them sick, and quite possibly get your kids sick. So we're going to tell you all this stuff, and we're going to create this new, you know, this new version of this new normal, this new world that you're going to now have to adapt to, you know. And people are like, okay, because I don't know how else to survive. You know, I've been feeding off that spoon that you've been giving me, government, and, you know, Channel 7 TV and Channel 7 News. I've been following the rules. I've been a good citizen. I've been paying my bills on time. I've been doing all this stuff. Yes, sir. No, sir. What else do you want me to do? Oh, okay. I'll accept that because I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to be my true self and be that hunter-gatherer. I don't know how to survive on my own. I know that I need to depend on Coles and Woolworths, and I know that I need to panic buy, and I know I need to buy all of that toilet paper and clear that off the shelves, you know, like, so yeah, it's to me, the sort of scariness of it all, the fate for humanity, to me is rather scary because people have not taken that blue pill. And the Matrix is
Yeah.
fucking real, my brother. The Matrix is fucking real.
Yeah, that's where it's at, man. But yeah, like we we all have our connection to what we believe, and everyone has an opinion, and you know, it's just about sharing your beliefs, and the people that will resonate with it or connect with it will you know, that'll become their truth. But I'm gonna have to wrap this up and head back into work, dude. But
Yeah,
yeah,
champ. Just
you
quickly
know,
though, so you got it. So you got a job. You're working, yeah?
I work for my missus. I do all digital marketing and stuff like that.
Perfect. I love it. All right, champ.
Yeah.
Well, look, we got to do this more often. I think next time we'll tweak the time and we'll sort a couple of things out and maybe, you know, get whatever. But yeah, man, look, I want to do this quite often with you and scratch heaps of services, multiple.
Yep.
There's plenty more. There's plenty more to come about. There's more to come. This is all new. So yeah, we're doing this. And
Let's 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 see where the ride takes us.
well, that's it, you know. And look, I want you to be the most popular guest. And no offense to anyone else that comes on afterwards, or anyone else that speaks, or anyone that thinks that they're my real closest friend. But I want you to be number one.
I love you, bro. It's always a pleasure. I love our chats, and yeah, I you know, I hope that, you know, in maybe 12 months we can do one of these live from the Amazon rainforest or something like that.
100%, man. As soon as those borders open, I am fucking gone. I am drinking that fucking medicine. I'm taking it. I'm gonna be fucking teleported to fucking space. I'm going to see my light being, my true self, I'm going to go chill out with the fucking space aliens, and I can't wait. I want to tap into that 6th-dimensional realm.
All right, bro. Peace out.
See you, pal. Take it easy.
See you, dude.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Hang on.